Hari Om and Jai Gurudev. Om. 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 Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. Just give me a minute. Sorry. We stopped at this verse, I think, yesterday. Utsideyurime lokan na kuryan karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasya upahanyami ma prajaha. If I were not to perform action, these people would perish. I would be the author of confusion in the society and I would destroy these beings. So by destroying, he said, it is the lack of objectivity, wherein a person becomes very subjective. He becomes. So if Krishna performed no action and the people followed him, let them follow, one might say. The problem is that they would destroy themselves in the process. If the people have innumerable likes and dislikes, and they do not perform the actions that will fulfill them, what will happen? Because they have no viveka, no discrimination, they will become insane, which is what destruction means here. There is no destruction for a human being other than insanity. Everyone, normal and abnormal, is born of ignorance and error. And because there is very little difference between the empirical, the objective, and the subjective, this ignorance and error can lead to madness. There being a streak of madness in everyone. This is why it is said that the line between sanity and insanity is a very fine line indeed. If you see an object, you do not see it as objectively as the object is, because there is always a certain subjectivity involved in the seeing. Therefore, it is very difficult to distinguish between subjective projection and objective appreciation. And a sane person is one who has some objectivity, while an insane person is more subjective. He or she also has some objectivity. An insane person eats bread and not rocks, just as a sane person does. This much objectivity he or she has. The problem is that such a person may feel persecuted, for example, when in fact he or she is not. There may be some objectivity, but because there is a lot of subjectivity, we call the person insane. Even a person who is very objective may have some degree of subjectivity. But because the objectivity is more predominant, he or she is called normal. The person may expect that money will provide security, an expectation that cannot be described as very objective. Another indication of subjectivity is when the person does not take people as they are and instead projects his or her own fears upon them. Thus, the difference between those we describe as normal and those we call insane is not very much. The insane person is more subjective than objective, and the sane person is a little more objective than subjective. Insanity can occur with the increase of one's subjectivity or the decrease of one's objectivity. It does not take much time and is what is meant here by destruction. Performing action as an example to others. Therefore, Krishna told Arjuna in this verse, if I do not perform karma, these people will definitely destroy themselves. Krishna was talking here about being in charge of all three worlds. Lokaha usually means worlds, but here it means people. Krishna did not say that if he performed no action in his capacity as Ishvara, all the worlds would fall apart. If this were the case, there would be no problem. We would all gain moksha because Ishvara turned lazy. This is the kind of translation that can happen if the word lokaha is not properly understood. Krishna meant that people would destroy themselves if they performed no karma. He also said that if he performed no action, he would be the author of confusion. Arjuna thought if he fought this battle, he would create utter confusion in the society and thereby incur sin. This is why he did not want to fight. Now, Krishna was telling him that by not fighting, Arjuna would be creating confusion because the people would also not do what was to be done. Knowing all this, Krishna knew that he himself had to set a good example. Otherwise, he would be the cause of everyone's destruction. The people had to do their karmas. Not doing them was not going to help them. They would not be happy not doing what was to be done by them. They may not have been very happy doing karma, but not doing it would be far worse. One big tamas, mass lethargy would completely overtake the society. Previously, Krishna had pointed out that once buddhi, the intellect, is gone, the human being is destroyed. Pointed out that when once buddhi, the intellect, is gone, the human being is destroyed. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. 63rd verse of chapter 2. This destruction is not physical. It is buddhi nasha, destruction of the intellect, the capacity to discriminate between what is and what is not. Here Krishna said that if the people did not do what was to be done, there would be buddhi nasha, meaning that all reasoning would be gone and they would no longer be human beings. Thus, simply because people always take what an exalted person in the society does as their model, Krishna would be the cause of their destruction if he did not perform karma. Further, he said, Saktaha karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tatha saktaha chikirshirloka sangraham. Bharata, O Bharata Arjuna, karmani, to action, saktaha, attached, avidvamsaha, the unwise, yatha, just as, kurvanti, perform action, tatha, so too, vidvan, the wise, loka sangraham, the protection of people, chikirshuhu, desirous of doing, asaktaha, unattached, kuryat, would perform. O Bharata, just as the unwise who are attached to the results perform action, so too would the wise perform action without attachment, desirous of doing that which is for the protection of the people. Previously, Lord Krishna had said that he did not really have anything to be done because there was nothing for him to accomplish in all three worlds, meaning here on earth, in the heavens, or in any other world. This was because he knew himself to be everything, Sarva Atma. Because Arjuna saw Krishna continually immersed in activity, Krishna explained that he performed action to set an example, as we have seen. Here in this verse, Lord Krishna asked Arjuna to suppose that he too were a knower of the Atma and Atmavit. Then he too could say, Hey Krishna, in all the three worlds, there is nothing for me to accomplish because I am an Atmavit. I know I am everything. And knowing this, Arjuna could then also perform action. He would have nothing to lose. He too would perform action for the sake of the people. Otherwise, he would be destroying them. The people did not know whether Arjuna knew or not. They only knew what he did. All they would see was Arjuna not doing what he was supposed to do and would simply conclude that not performing action is preferable. Once again, Krishna was bringing up the argument that the people would follow Arjuna's lead, and because of this, Arjuna should set an example. Keeping this in mind, Krishna addressed Arjuna here as Bharata, for which there are two meanings. A person born in the family of Bharata may be referred to as Bharata. Secondly, Bha means Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman, and Tasyam Yaha Ramate, the one who revels in that, the knowledge of Brahman, is called Bharata. Therefore, Arjuna was Bharata in this sense also because he was receiving and reveling in the teaching of Brahman. In this verse, Vidwan means one who has this knowledge, and Avidwan is one who does not, taking the self to be a doer. Taking themselves to be the doer, people are bound to karma. They do not even perform action for the sake of antahkarana shuddhi, but with the expectation that if I perform this action, I will gain this result. This expectation, this attitude is what is meant by attachment to karma. Action itself is not what people are attached to. They are attached to the results. Because people are interested in results, they undertake certain actions with a combination of enthusiasm, anxiety, and concern. What Krishna was saying here is, let the Vidwan, the wise person, perform action with the same enthusiasm as a person who performs action for the results alone. Thus, the enthusiasm is a common factor between the two, whereas the anxiety and concern are not. A person who is attached to the results of action thinks, such and such should happen to me. For this person, there is no karma yoga buddhi, which is prasada buddhi with regard to results. The terms dictating the action are purely raga dveshas. The kartavya buddhi, the to be done attitude, is not there for the person. When such people undertake activities, there is definitely going to be enthusiasm in anticipation of the results desired. But this enthusiasm will be dampened somewhat by the apprehension one has about getting undesirable results. Because there are no real guarantees that the action will produce the desired results, some anxiety will always be there. And the more enthusiastic a person is with reference to the result, the more anxious he or she naturally becomes. Therefore, for one who does not know oneself as everything, anxiety accompanies enthusiasm, and with these, the person performs action. So there are three aspects here. One is enthusiasm, anxiety, and concern. So what Krishna is saying, like the wise perform action without anticipation of results, without attachment to the results, and the unwise perform actions with anticipation of results, and they have anxiety and concern about the results. They also perform action with that enthusiasm. He says a Vidwan should perform action with the same enthusiasm that the unwise person performs, but without the link to the apprehension and anxiety about the results. He should do it with the prasada buddhi. Attitude in action. Why is it that the wise can undertake action with the same enthusiasm but without the anxiety and concern? This is purely because of a difference in attitude. A wise person performs action simply because it is to be done. How a result comes or whether the expected result comes is not a concern for the wise. When the result comes, it is met with equanimity. Action is always result-oriented. No one can perform an action without expecting a result. Expectation of a particular result alone makes the action meaningful. An action performed without expecting a result is meaningless. An action is always done for some purpose, even if it is kartavya, a to be done action. Thus, the purpose of any action is always known, whereas whether the purpose is going to be fulfilled is definitely anyone's guess. The results are not in your hands. You can only plan what you will do, then do it, and keep on doing it. But the results of the actions are not within your control. Thus, Krishna said here, that if Arjuna was an Atmavid, a Vidwan, he would perform whatever action was to be done by him with the same enthusiasm as people who are attached to the results, but without the attachment. In other words, minus the anxiety and heartburn. This is where I think the aspect of educate and ignore becomes very relevant. Of course, any other action is also included, but especially when you want to make a difference to a person, you want to tell him that he or she has to do, alter the way he's doing or thinking. You just educate and then ignore. The problem is for instance, if we are looking at our role as parents, we want to change the behavior of our children for some, so we tell them and we have that anxiety that they have to change. They have to, you expect that result has to come according to what you want it to be. So you just educate and then ignore. It may be with children, it may be with anybody else out there. But often we are attached to the result.
As Guruji says, Pramana,
yeah.
We should play as a sport. For a playing sake. And the sports, there will be win and there will be loss. We are not, sports are played only for the win or that. Therefore, Guruji was the other day was telling, professional sports. What is this professional sports? Playing is a playing, Only for winning only we have to play is the fault, he was telling. That's the way. We have to work only for the work's sake, not for results or any other thing. So that was good.
Yeah, that is true.
I think we need to play to win, but even if we lose, we should not lose our mind. Because no one, as it just now you read, our actions are goal-oriented, right? So no one will play the game if they don't have anything in mind. That enthusiasm would not be there. They will play to win, but if we lose, we don't lose our mind.
Someone also has to lose also, no? See, for playing, one has to win and one has to lose. So we have to accept the results as it comes.
That only happens only when the result comes. That thought would come only after you get the result.
So we have to play as if we win, but if results is lost, we are not to lose the heart. That is the sportsmanship.
But what I understood, there will be no anxiety when we will play. If we play like that, if it is winning or losing, but if we do it with surrender, without the expectation of result, then that anxiety will not be there. We will
but enthusiasm should be there.
Yeah.
The same enthusiasm should be there.
Enthusiasm will be there, but it is without
anxiety.
Enthusiasm will be there, but no anxiety. That will be
so good. Very tough balance.
I think over here, it is not that you should not expect a result. That is the whole thing. When we say karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana,
means whatever we are doing for result, that is okay. But it is always a 50-50 position, winning chances.
Yeah, we are talking only of a game, but we extrapolate it to every other thing. Anything else. For instance, you're cooking. When you set out to cook, you of course are cooking with that full enthusiasm that whatever you cook, has to come out well and delicious and, appropriately. It has to have it. You have the expectation that it should come out tasty.
Yeah.
But if with that enthusiasm you start off and you do everything that has to be done, but for whatever reason, something goes wrong and the taste is not as expected, then you should not lose your, you should not get anxious and start getting into a blame game. So, or feeling guilty about it. So that is, I mean, you can extrapolate it to any other action that you do. Every action is done with a result in end. Otherwise, there is no meaning for that action. So expecting a result is not the problem. So with that full enthusiasm about getting the result, you start. But do not be attached to the result. The consequence of whatever your action is, whatever it is, be equanimous. That is the whole thing. So that is why that opposite values are complementary is so important here. Because you have joys, you have sorrows, you have profits, you have loss, you have everything. It's a mixture. Life is a whole, it's a mixture of both positive and negative. So in spite of whether you get something positive that you expected, or more than what you expected, or less than what you expected, you still maintain your calm. That is the attitude that a wise person has.
Sthitat prajna.
Yeah.
Balance. That is very tough. Many
Isn't it?
situations. Yeah.
The wise perform action to bless the world. Why, you may ask, does a wise person perform action if he or she is not interested in the result? No one is saying that the person must perform action. But the question is, what does he or she lose by doing it? In fact, nothing is lost there, and there is a lot to be gained in terms of protecting others. It is true that the gain is not for the wise person, but there is nothing wrong with that. Let the others be protected and enjoy the gain. For a wise person who knows he or she is everything, there is nothing to gain, nothing to accomplish. Here he is talking of a jnani, complete, sthita prajna or a jnani. One who wants to do something is called chikirshu. The desire spoken of here is to protect the people, loka sangraha. Those who want to perform action, even though they have nothing to accomplish for themselves, do not want the people to fall into ways that are non-productive and destructive. Therefore, to bless the world, to serve as an example to the world, the wise perform action. What else is there to do for a person who has nothing to do but to set an example, thereby protecting the people? This is why Krishna was on the battlefield, in fact, driving Arjuna's chariot. Krishna was definitely taking a risk sitting in the front seat of the chariot. He was the one who would be bombarded. Every arrow would have to cross his head and shoulders before finding its way to Arjuna. Krishna could well be hit in the process. Being a charioteer is something like being a tank driver. Even though other men are using the weapons, the driver is risking his life. Thus, Krishna was as much as saying to Arjuna, I am your driver, and therefore I am taking a great risk. I have actually given you my neck, in fact. Why? For the protection of the order, the dharma, and thereby for the protection of the people. Dharma itself is not something that has to be protected. To think so would be idealism. In fact, it is the dharmis, the people who follow the dharma, that are to be protected. There is no such thing as the protection of dharma other than the people who follow it. The dharma, the order, is meant for the people. Thus, when it is said that the dharma is to be protected, what is meant is that the people are to be protected. Krishna had made it very clear that there were no kartavya, to be done action for him or for anyone who has the knowledge of Atma. There is no mandate that says you should continue to do karma. Whatever an Atmavid does is only for the blessing of the world. This is all that he or she does. This being the contention, Krishna told Arjuna that he should determine what is to be done for the good of the people alone, and then he should do it. If Arjuna were to tell the people that there is no action to be done, kartavyam nasti, it would be wrong. And if he set a wrong example by performing no action himself, others would be disturbed. As a word of advice to those who already have knowledge of the self, this theme was repeated by Krishna in the next verse. So, chikirshuhu is kartum ichuhu, one who desires to do. That is chikirshuhu. Na buddhi
I think here the seva bhavana is highlighted. You see, blessing the others. You are working for others without expecting anything, seva. So that seva is highlighted here. You have to do the work just to help. If not for you, at least to help.
Correct. This is, I think, this particular verse and what Krishna was talking here is with respect to a vidwan, with respect to a jnani.
Jnani.
Like, this is what Gurudev is doing. He does not need to do sadhana. He does not need to meditate.
No.
To XYZ
No,
at all. But he's doing all that, number one, to set an example, and number two, to bless the world, to bless the whole universe. For him, the
Yes.
whole world is one family. So why is he sitting in the homas? Why is he doing the Purnahuti and all that? Why is he meditating during satsang? Why does he come attend a satsang? He's there because he wants to set an example. He does yoga himself. In fact, his body is so flexible that, you'd be surprised at this age, he does, he's wonderful with respect to yoga. So there is absolutely no need for him to do. He's an enlightened being. But he does that because to bless the world, number one. And second is to set an example. Because if he did not do anything, people like how Krishna said, because Krishna is not doing anything, everybody also will not do anything. So they all have their raga dveshas still, and they're not doing anything. They will become insane. They will become more and more subjective, and there will be a huge tamas, mass of lethargy that would set up in the world. Can you imagine a world where nobody does anything? The world, the cosmos is set into motion because of this. If the previous verses where he talked of how Purovacha Prajapatihi, the Brahma creator, from Brahman came the Veda, the Brahma, and from there the creation happened. And this action, the desire action cycle set into being. So this cosmic cycle will continue, and in order for it to continue, you have to continue to work, continue to do what is to be done. And even this thing was very beautiful about this paragraph about dharma. It is not that we protect dharma. It is not dharma that needs to be protected. It is the people who follow dharma have to be protected. When we say dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, it is people who follow dharma will, of course, automatically be protected by the dharma. But here, what Krishna is talking of, the jnani being protecting the dharma, is protecting people who follow dharma.
I sometimes feel it very contradicting where it says that you want to be mukta And then you want this cycle of samsara needs to go on. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, in order to be mukta, what do you have to do? Because see, we've come in here into this world right now as you and I speak. We have come in with our baggage of prarabdha, and we have our own samskaras, we have our vasanas, we have our raga dveshas, isn't it? That we want to be mukta is the end point. But we have this process, this means is there. So unless we take care of this raga dvesha, you cannot be mukta directly. Can we be? Is the question.
No, we should be responsible for running this show. You see, the show has to run, no? Otherwise, if you stop, show will not run.
But in
You
order
have
for the
given
show
a
to
role.
run,
You have given a
Yeah.
role. You have to play with.
But show itself is the culprit, right? For us to go through this samsara.
That is what
So
is now.
why
has
we want
come.
to keep continuing it? That's what I just thought. It's a stupid question, but I just thought. And the show itself, it's a maya. We know it's not real. Still, we want to, continue happening. We are helping it. That's where the confusion is.
see, that is inevitable. That is inevitable. Whatever is happening right now is inevitable. That we are in this maya is inevitable. You have to accept that, right? But the whole purpose of being a mumukshu is to get to that realization, that knowledge to be dawned that this is maya. We only know it as a concept. It has not become an aparokshanubhuti. It's not become an experience for us. We know it is maya, that's all. It is only the jnana we have. We don't have the vijnana. So for that to dawn, Krishna has laid out this karma yoga for us. Otherwise, if you just go on saying, oh, the world is maya, world is maya, you're not going to get knowledge because you're still, all those, the baggage of raga dveshas is there. So how are you going to exhaust that? How are you going
We
to
are
get,
in that maya only then. You will be
isn't it?
drowned in the maya. We cannot get out of the maya. We have to get out of the maya. We have to do this work.
For that, he has set up, he's given us the roadmap. He's given us the Google map, so to say. This is what you have to do. The GPS he's given us. The goal is yes. And end point is, yes, you realize, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, you know that as a concept. But it has not become our experience. Like that, like for instance, for Gurudev, everybody is alike. Are we able to see everyone in the same way that Gurudev sees? Are we able to see? We still have differences. We still are very subjective in our approach to people. We say that we label them. We say this is good, this is not good, he is good, he's not good. So till such time that we have all these kalmashas in our body, we all have this impurity in order to purify our antakarna. That is why it is called antakarna shuddhi. That shuddhi has to happen. Isn't it? It is not a double, it's not like a high jump. You just think about it and then you realize it. Maybe it happens for some who are very, who have done a lot of sadhana in their previous life. Just a little thought, just a little direction, and they might get enlightened. But I think for the majority of us who have a lot of these binding raga dveshas, there's no other option than to go with the cosmic cycle.
Like Guruji, like Guruji, he had to be like us until he has become it took 25 years for him to come out of, because of his sanskara, he was in that mode since beginning. And he gave us all this blessings, Really, we are blessed to have him.
Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. Karma sanginam, of the people who are committed to the results of action. Ajnanam, of the people who are ignorant. Buddhi bhedam, disturbance of one's understanding. Na janayet, should not create. Vidwan, the wise person. Yuktaha, one who is steadfast in the knowledge. Sarva karmani, all actions. Samacharan, performing them well. Joshayet, should encourage the ignorant people. The Vidwan should not create any disturbance in the understanding of the ignorant who are attached to the results of action. The wise person, steadfast in the knowledge, himself performing all the actions well, should encourage the ignorant into performing all actions. In this verse, Krishna is saying, may this Atmavit, the one who knows the Atma, not produce any disturbance in the attitude of those who are ignorant, those who are committed to the results of action, karma phala. Karma sangis are those who have sangha, attachment, meaning here an attachment to the results of karma. Lacking discrimination, these people are not karma yogis, and Krishna was telling Arjuna not to disturb them. Na buddhi bhedam janayet. Those who know a little Vedanta often say to others, why is this karma that you are doing? Sorry, what is this karma that you are doing? These rituals and prayers are not going to help you. Why do you go on chanting Hare Rama, Hare Krishna all the time? You are wasting your time. Such statements do nothing but create unnecessary problems. Therefore, Krishna said, do not disturb their understanding. These people need only be encouraged to do karma according to dharma, nothing more. Dharma and adharma can be discussed with them in terms of their various pursuits. But they should not be disturbed by being told not to do any karma, since they are not ready for what that really means. Had Krishna and Arjuna lived their lives doing nothing, and had all the enlightened people around them also done nothing, people would certainly have concluded that the right thing to do was nothing. This is your answer, Mrinal. People who are thought to be enlightened are considered to be the elite in a given society, and whatever they do tends to become law for the others. Therefore, such people are leaders, shreshtas, and these leaders, including the Atmavit, should not disturb the minds of those who follow them. Just as you cannot alter the direction of a river unless you do it very gradually, so too, the direction that a person's life is taking can only be altered gradually. A sensitive person, one who really cares for another person, brings about a change in that person by going with the flow, altering the direction of his or her life little by little in a helpful way. A wise person does not disturb the understanding of others. The word vidvan in the second line of this verse refers to a wise person who is asked not to disturb the understanding of an ajnani, one who is ignorant. Yuktaha is another word for vidvan, meaning one who is jnanena yuktaha, endowed with knowledge. Even though such a person does not have anything to accomplish and does not lose anything either, he or she sets an example for others to follow. For example, A Vidwan does not pass a temple, but enters, offers prayers, and may even compose a verse in praise of the Lord. A Vidwan does not need to go into the temple because the person is a temple unto himself or herself. In this way, a Vidwan performs all the karmas that are to be done. Shankara consecrated many temples and composed verses in praise of the Lord. If the Vidwan happens to be a Grahastha, the karmas mandated for this particular ashrama are followed by him or her. And if the person happens to be a sannyasi's life is followed. Here, Krishna was talking about Grahasthas. A Grahastha is a householder. He or she is not a renunciate. For such a person, there are different levels of karma. Obligations to the society, to one's parents, to one's own immediate family members, to the devatas, and so on. In this verse, Krishna instructed the wise, who is a Grahastha, to set an example for others because it was the best way to teach them. There are two types of teaching. Teaching can be done by setting an example, as is done with reference to karma and dharma. Of course, the one who is teaching also says that certain things are to be done and not done. For the most part, however, karma and dharma are best taught by example. Only then will the words of the one who is teaching carry any weight. The words of a person who has lived a good life always carry more weight than those of one who has not. In the case of Atma Jnana, the teaching is not by example. It is to be taught by using words. This then is the other type of teaching. You cannot follow an Atma Jnani. You cannot say that because he or she does this or that, I will do the same and become enlightened. It does not work this way because we are dealing with knowledge. Therefore, unlike a life of dharma, Atma Jnana cannot be taught by example. It must be taught by words, shabda, whether few or many, words being the pramana here. The nature of words. In teaching any subject matter, if the person knows what he or she is talking about, the words carry weight. They ring true. As the words are spoken, you see their meaning. Naturally, the words of a person who knows what he or she is talking about are different from those of everyone else. Still, teaching by using words is not teaching by setting an example. What example are you setting when you tell someone that he or she is Brahman? Do you close your eyes? Do you walk around or remain seated? There is no example involved in telling a person that he or she is Brahman. When Krishna compared a wise person to an ignorant person by saying what was night for one was day for the other, he was speaking from a position of desperation in terms of setting an example. To say that when the ignorant are sleeping, the wise person is awake, and when they are awake, the wise person is sleeping, simply means that they never meet. We see something similar in today's families where the father works so hard that he leaves the house too early in the morning to see his children and comes home so late that they are again sleeping. Just as the father and children never meet, the wise person and the other wise also never meet. What is night for one is day for the other. What is day for one is night for the other. Therefore, in terms of setting an example for the people with reference to knowledge, example setting is only with reference to Dharma Shastra, not with reference to Jnana. This point has to be recognized because there are those who advocate teaching Atma Jnana by example. The only way a wise can set an example here is by doing karma properly. When he does the karma well, a wise person makes others do their various karmas because the people will follow him or her. How a person is attached to karma is made clear in the next verse. Yeah. Does anyone want to share anything here?
Like Guruji does all the pujas, homas, and all that. No. As a jnani, he need not have to do, but he does for us to lead.
That is one. And the second is there are two types of teaching over here.
Yeah.
One is by setting an example, which is what yadyadacharati shreshtaha tattadevetaro janha. That is one. By setting an example, you can show people the path of dharma and therefore do karma according to dharma. That is one. The second teaching is Atma Jnana. Atma Jnana you cannot do by setting an example. Only taught by using words. That is why Shabda Pramana is required. That is why Vedanta is required.
Required, yes.
That is why we have to read this. That is why Shravanam Kuryat, Mananam Kuryat. Without the words, you cannot get Atma Jnana.
Beautiful, really. It's really very good.
That is why Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita. It's all it's a conglomeration of words, isn't it? And it is Moksha Shastra. It is not Dharma Shastra he's talking of. And I think the previous verses were talking of how, according to what ashrama we are, we have to do. That is again in line with our Swadharma. If you're a Grahastha, you do and function like a Grahastha. You don't see a sannyasi and being a Grahastha, you behave like a sannyasi. That is not going to work. That will become paradharma there. So for a Grahastha, you pretty well perform your duties and your karma according to dharma as a Grahastha. Taking care of your community. See, he's given those beautiful things, indications of what all come into a Grahastha's thing. Wherein a Grahastha is a householder, he or she is not a renunciate. For him, such a person, there are different levels of karma, obligations to society, to one's parents, to one's own immediate family members, to the devatas and so on. When they perform the Upanayanam for Brahmachari, it is a three-threaded Upanayanam that is given. That is, one is obligations to the society, obligations to the parents, duties or responsibilities towards parents, and responsibilities to oneself. So he is initiated into the study of the Veda there. When he gets married, there are three more threads included. So then it becomes responsibility to one's family. 6 more, sorry. I know, I knew I was saying something wrong. It is 6 more. There are actually 9 threads. So can you explain, Prem, what are the other 6 threads for? He doesn't remember. Does any one of you remember why the other 6 threads are for a Grahastha? So this is actually
3 of his wife, no?
Or wife, yeah. Yes.
Correct.
3
So
for
wife-
his wife, 3 for himself.
Okay,
And
I
3
think-
for the parents.
No. I think Prem said, he says each one of the other 6 threads that are added to a Grahastha is linked to a particular Devata. He said he will let us know later.
Good.
All the 9. Yeah. So this is like
Samaj
a
Run.
Yeah.
Samaj Run, na? Pitra Run, Samaj Run, and 3 two of them is Pitrurun, Samajrun.
Devarun.
He has to give back to the society.
Yeah.
And the third one is, I think, Vidya. Vidya is already included when Brahmachari. Third
No,
one,
but that is there.
Guru.
I think it is.
Devrun, Pitrurun, and Samajrun.
Yeah, that is for a brahmachari. But when he becomes a grahastha, there are 6 more threads added. So
Correct.
that significance, yeah, I think Prem said he will let us, if any of you knows, you can mention. Otherwise, we will maybe do a little bit of research into that. It's important because, see, that is a constant reminder of your responsibility. So your obligations to, and I know it may be a little deviation, but I thought I'll just mention it with respect to the knowledge that we gained in the Mandala Vatika, wherein the whole creation is has 3 components. One is the sound, the second is the plant frequency, and then the third is the geometry that is created. So basically, this the sacred thread that is worn is made of cotton, isn't it? So it is a plant. It's a derivative of plant. And then when you chant the Gayatri mantra, that is the mantra, the sound vibrations, then you invite the tattva, you invite the energies, divine energies into your manifest reality, as what Dr. Prabhakar says. So this is not just a simple thread. It is like an antenna, he says. It connects you. When you wear that and you're chanting the Gayatri, you're actually connecting to the cosmos. You're connecting to the divine energies, and you're imbibing them. You're inviting them into your reality. So it is not just a thread. It has a lot of significance. The nature of words. In teaching any subject matter, if the person knows what he or she is talking about, yeah, I think this is what we finished, no? Yeah. So how a person is attached to karma is made clear in the next verse. Prakrite kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. Prakritehi gunaihi, by the gunas of Prakriti, sarvashaha, in various ways, karmani, actions, kriyamanani, are performed. Ahankara vimudhatma, one who is deluded by the I notion. Aham karta, I am the doer. Iti, thus, manyate, thinks. Actions are performed in various ways by the gunas of Prakriti, the body, mind, and senses. Deluded by the I notion, one thinks, I am the doer. Prakriti means cause, that out of which all things come, the potential cause of anything. There are 2 aspects to an individual. Purusha, meaning Atma, the self, Chaitanya, consciousness, and Prakriti, also called Avidya or Maya. Your body, mind, and senses are modifications, vikaras, creations born of Prakriti, which depends entirely on the Purusha, the Vastu, the thing to be understood. Prakriti being the cause, anything born of it is called Prakriti Vikara or Prakriti Guna, meaning modification. The word guna has to be seen in its proper context in order to understand its meaning, because it has many meanings. It can be any simple attribute, visheshana, like the yellow in a yellow flower. Any adjective is a guna. Guna is also a technical term for sattva, rajas, and tamas, which indicates certain conditions of the mind as well as the constituents of Maya or Avidya. A virtue is also called guna. For example, a person of ethics, one who has a good heart and stately qualities, is called gunavan. Another meaning of guna is not. And in Sanskrit grammar, guna is one of the many technical names given by Panini. It indicates a vowel, a, and the diphthongs e and o. Guna is also a particular modification, vikara. In this verse, we have prakritehi gunaihi, by the modification of prakriti, meaning by the mind, senses, and physical body. All three are called prakriti gunas. In the technical language of Sanskrit, this body-mind complex is called karya karana sanghata. We have already seen that the physical body is karya and the mind, senses, and prana are karana. The assemblage, sanghata, of the physical body, mind, and senses is called guna, here being the modification of the gunas of the prakriti. All actions are performed by these prakriti gunas, the physical limbs, mind, and senses alone. Actions are performed in various ways based on various sources of knowledge for the purpose of achieving various ends. Thus, there are actions enjoined by the Veda, Vaidika karma, and all other activities, Laukika karma. All types of activity are covered here, whether they are pursuits meant for gaining knowledge or for gaining various other results, here or in the hereafter. So, I think there are different meanings of guna given over here, right? Maybe it's a good idea for us to just quickly run through them once, so then we understand the whole idea that is being presented here. Prakriti, everyone is made of, it has two aspects. One is the Purusha, which is the Atma, the Sadvastu, and Prakriti, which is the cause, which is Avidya, which is Maya, which is the cause of the whole manifest world. And with respect to a Jiva, it is the cause of the physical body, mind, senses, all this become the Prakriti. That is one aspect of the Purusha and Prakriti. And because all these are modifications, vikaras, creations born of Prakriti, that is called Prakriti Guna. Prakriti being the cause, anything born of it is called Prakriti Vikara or Prakriti Guna. The word guna has to be seen in its proper context to understand. It can be any simple attribute, Visheshana. It can be like an adjective. That this person is gunavan, he's a person with good virtues. Guna is also a term used for sattva, rajas, tamo gunas, which indicate the conditions of the mind. Virtue is also called guna. For example, a person of ethics, one who has good heart and stately qualities, is called a gunavan. Another meaning of guna is not.
The guna, it is modification, they said, no? I think it is equivalent to that panchikarana of the all elements, prakriti.
Yeah.
Because of that, we get it. You know, rajas, tamas, and all. We have learned, no, that panchikarana. Beautifully, it is. From that, we get these variations, modification.
Yeah, in Tattva Bodh, I think we learned, no? Brahmashraya Maya. Then, from Maya, all the Panchamahabhutas are formed. And from there, you have all the other, through Panchikarna, like you said, all the others
That is what is the modification.
Right.
Hmm.
So,
So it is, we call statistics, what you call it is permutation and combination, so many. With percentages here, there. So all these Panchikarana makes us one body. So therefore different varieties, different gunas, different many things, you know. Even a small thing, one electron goes out, it will change a element. Similar to that Panchikarana, that modification. So we are all, our body, mind, complex, everything is due to that Prakriti only, with help of the Purusha. Combination of this is our body, our whole existence, we can say. All the 7 stages with Atma, you know, soul.
right. So we have guna is also a particular modification, vikara. In this verse, we have by the modification of Prakriti, meaning by the mind, senses, and physical body. These are called the Karya Karana Sanghata. So the assemblage, the Sanghata, is also called guna. Here being the modification of gunas of the Prakriti. And all actions are performed by these Prakriti gunas, the physical limbs, mind, and senses alone. So here all types of activity, whether it's Vaidika karma or Laukika karma, are covered in this Prakriti gunas. That actions are performed by the Prakriti gunas, all actions are included. The doer of action. A person who thinks he or she is doer of these various actions is referred to in this verse as Ahankara Vimudhatma, meaning one who is deluded by the notions he or she has about the I, the Atma. The I notion or I sense has all the attributes. When you say, I am so and so, the Karya, the physical body, and Karana, the mind and senses, are an integral part of your Ahankara alone. The person has become deluded, vimudha, in many ways. In fact, the delusion is multifaceted. One delusion with varieties of nuances, one big knot with innumerable knots within knots. These knots are the varieties of problems and notions that a person has. Ahankara implies many notions, beginning with I am mortal. The I notion is connected to hundreds of notions about oneself. For example, religious notions are what brands one as religious. Then the person says he or she belongs to this or that religion, and so on. This is just one of the innumerable problems brought about by notions. All such notions are about this I and are expressed by this I. The Ahankara itself includes all these notions. The starting point for Ahankara is the Karya Karana Sanghata, the body, mind, sense complex, centered on which is the conclusion, I am as good as this body, mind, and senses. And over a period of years, we keep gathering a variety of notions about this I. No baby thinks I am white or black, Caucasian or Negroid. Only afterwards, as the child grows up, does he or she slowly begin to pick up such notions. One's whole life is spent gathering more and more notions about oneself, and this is what is meant when it is said, his mind is deluded, vimudha. The Vimudhatma, the one whose mind is deluded in 100 different ways by the Ahankara, thinks that he or she is a doer, Ahamkarta. even though it is the physical body, mind, and senses that perform the actions. The person is the one who is aware of all the actions. In other words, the one who lights them up. He or she knows what does what, but at the same time is still able to think, I am the doer. This, therefore, is no ordinary avidya. It is not ignorance of an object or of a discipline of knowledge. It is self-delusion. Because the self is not here, the obvious is not at all obvious. On the other hand, one who knows the Atma, the Atmavit or the Jnani, does not take oneself to be the Karta, as we shall see in the next verse. To tell someone who looks upon himself or herself as the Karta, that he or she is not the Karta, will only confuse the person. Nothing is ever said in the Shastra to suggest that one should not do karma. The Shastra says, you are not the doer, and that this knowledge is moksha. You can live a life of renunciation, or you can live a life of karma yoga. In either case, knowledge is moksha. This is what is said. I'm just going to read this footnote. Shankara resolves this compound as follows. Ahankara vimudhatma karya karana sanghate atma pratyayaha ahankaraha tena vividham nanavidham budaha atma antahkaranam yasya saha. The I notion placed in the karya karana sanghata is called ahankara. The one whose atma, antahkarana, is deluded in various ways because of this false I notion is called ahankara vimudhatma. This is so beautiful how the self-delusion happens. The ahankara. That is only born of Prakriti. You are Brahman there, but you are identifying yourself with the Karya Karana Sanghata. And you say, I am this doer, I am so and so. So beautiful. This just that link has to be delinked. No? That is all this knowledge is about.
But so difficult.
Yeah, I don't
The
know.
whole life.
I don't
Whole
know
life goes.
whether it's difficult or it's easy. It depends on
Easy.
our right?
Yeah.
It is said, Achirenadi gachati. When that knowledge dawns, it just dawns. See, what is difficult is the preparation is difficult. The preparation for the knowledge is difficult. You have to.
Antakarana Shuddhi.
Yeah, that polishing is difficult. Taking care of raga dveshas is difficult. Taking care of all our kama, krodha, lobha, all those 6 modifications, that is difficult. That requires steadfastness. That requires all the shamadhi shat sampatti. They require shama, dhamma, all that titiksha, all that is required. That is difficult, yes, but the delinking actually it's like it does not require any time. It's only the preparation that requires time.
Therefore, Guruji says, no, you are free now. Just
Yeah.
now.
There is nothing.
It is like that only, that much only. If you understand it, you are free now. That's it.
Because he's in that state all the time.
So good.
Yeah. Not doing karma is meaningless. To tell a person who thinks he or she is a karta not to do karma is meaningless. Even if someone does no karma, it does not mean that he or she is not doing karma. As long as the person is a karta, one's every move is a karma. Standing is a karma. Listening to someone is a karma. Everything becomes karma because the person thinks he or she is the karta. As long as this notion is there, the person will always be doing one thing or the other thinking that he or she is the doer. If at all you are to teach such a person, you will have to try to make the person understand that he or she is a karta. This understanding is purely jnana and has nothing to do with doing or not doing karma. Krishna then explained why the wise are not attached to karma. I think this will take up tomorrow. We will do a bit of manana. Would invite everybody to share their takeaway, whatever their takeaways are.
We should just, Jai Gurudev, to strive for more objective and less subjective. Less subjective is we are a normal person. The insane people,
Very right.
they're not accepting others and they're more subjective. And so that's why they suffer. So this is my biggest takeaway. Jai Gurudev.
That is what it is. No, seeing things as they are, without putting in our filter of our own raga dveshas. If that filter is removed, then you see reality as it is. You're very objective. The problem is we put in the subjective filter before we see everything, and we label, we judge, that is the problem.
No, the whole thing comes in one point. Accept things and the situation as they are. What is such a big meaning it is.
We should always have enthusiasm like Gurudev. Then it will be very easy for everything, no? To accept, to let go.
Has anyone stopped us from being like that? Now, at this moment and this second, we can be right. Now, we can let go. Now, we can accept everyone. Now, we can accept everything. And we doing what we need to do.
Now
Am I right?
we are free. Now we are
Yeah.
free.
But the problem is people understand it when they want to use it for their advantage, they will say that no, Gurudev said I am free now not to get bonded, so I want to do this, I want to go there, I want to do that. Then people use it. Otherwise, when they want to pick up a quarrel, I'm seeing the common nature of people, no, like what they say is, if they want to pick up a quarrel, you did this to me, you did this to me, I wanted to do that, you asked me to do this, I this, you do. All this tu my keeps happening. At that time, why does all this knowledge of Gurudev said you are free this moment, accept people as they are, that this does not come. When it comes to me, I am something. I am busy, I am tired, I am sleepy, or I am inactive, or I am hungry, whatever comes, and I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't accept you because I am out of moods. See, I'm just making a general statement. We are all ordinary, thinking of ordinary mortals, So that being free, being not free, is something which we have to tell ourselves inside the mind and follow it. The moment we take a resolve that we follow, we observe Gurudev and we want to be like him. The moment we seriously want to be like him, we will be like him. That is what I'm just thinking. It's difficult, not impossible. Hari Om.
Anybody else wants to share anything? Your takeaways.
No, I like that. No, karma yoga. For jnani to become moksha, only the knowledge through shabda is needed, not by action. That is really a very good point. So this manana and all this, that only will help us in coming to closer to the, otherwise we'll be only doing it. Will not. So wonderful it is, really. That point is hammered very well.
See, that is why all the sadhana, there are people, that is why, if you remember once, Gurudev said a very, it was like a bolt. People thought, you're doing sadhana, doing Sudarshan Kriya and meditation, you will get moksha. He said, you will not get enlightenment by doing sadhana. He said, you will not get anything. He didn't say anything. He said, you will not get enlightened by doing sadhana. The sadhana is only a preparation. Ultimately, it is the words that are required. That ultimately it is jnana that is required. And that jnana pramana is through words.
Ultimately, that om is only the
right. So
shabda.
We should not be deluded that, oh, I'm doing Sudarshan Kriya, so I'll get enlightened. Sudarshan Kriya, of course, is laying, there's no two things about it. I don't want to confuse anyone. Sudarshan Kriya, of course, is mandatory, it's important. It's only to create that, make us more and more sattvic in our shraddha, it is there to purify us more and more.
That is what antakarana shuddhi.
That is it. It is part of that. It is part of preparation. But ultimately, it's Vedanta that we have to go back to. That is why we have all of this in the Art of Living. It is not just Sudarshan Kriya. No, Gurudev could have just stopped at that. Why does he give the knowledge discourses? Why does he give in Bhagavad Gita? Why is he continuing to give us knowledge? Because knowledge is such an integral part, and that is important. Ultimately, that is the last step. And for that, we have this pramana. In Shankaracharya's Sadhana Panchakam, it's a beautiful composition where he talks of every day you're supposed to, as a grahastha, you're supposed to do some scriptural learning. It is ingrained in the sadhana, in daily sadhana. So it is not enough if we just do a little bit of yoga and Sudarshan Kriya meditation. Very important, yes, but it is not complete without knowledge. That is why we've got all these books also, Intimate Knowledge, Note to Sincere Seeker, and because it is that which ultimately makes us realize it further and further purifies, and then
true. Even now also, Bhanu Didi also reads every day one page of Sincere Seekers. And Gurudev also, in his afternoon nap or whatever it is, he always listens to Yoga Vasishtha.
Right.
Continuously, this thing is an integral part of their lives. So it's a big example for all of us. But at the same time, I want to share this. I was also like somewhere more, the left brain was more active when I was small, young. And I also used to think, yes, karne ki kya zarurat hai, ye wo bas the ultimate knowledge.
I'm not sure whether I'm the only one I cannot hear, or is there everyone? You were not audible, Madhuri, for some time.
Yeah, the net went off.
I think your net was shaky, maybe. I thought the problem was with my net.
Now you can hear me?
Now, yes. For about a minute or so, less than a minute, we couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Acha, no, I just wanted to share that even I also used to think ultimately the knowledge is important when my left brain was very active from childhood. So in the young age and all. But the perception is so distorted, no? Unless until we purify antakaran shuddhi. And all these practices very much they continuously they purify us and our whole perception changes. Otherwise there is always a deluded perception of everything. So just knowledge is not enough. Continuously both the things we need to continue follow: karma bhakti and knowledge. Karma bhakti and knowledge, they should go simultaneously. Then only as the purification happens, the understanding and the depth of knowledge also changes, for sure. So all should go simultaneously. That's what I feel. Jai Gurudev.
Hari Om. And just thinking, like, two words are coming up always in our sessions. You know, one is jnana, one is moksha. Am I right? Always we are saying that moksha is possible only through jnana, not through that, not through this. Maybe on these two words, the deeper meaning of what jnana means and what actually moksha means. I think we need to also contemplate more onto this and also have a few minutes of discussion on that also about what exactly that means. Hari Om.
Jnana and moksha are the same. And that's the only jnana we want to know.
Yeah, I think that is the ultimate end. That is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, jnana brings liberation. Moksha means what? Nirvana, liberation. I really do not know whether any other language can really explain what exactly moksha is. But what we talk is nirvana or liberation. Jnana, if jnana we think as knowledge. Knowledge brings liberation. So what is this thing called jnana that is required for this thing called moksha? What exactly is the moksha? Moksha means liberation, liberation, or this. From what? Jnana means what? What is that jnana?
I think it is, see,
These
like
are the two things we have to go a little.
yeah, it is removal of that self-delusion. Looking at the rope as a rope, looking at yourself as Atma, as yourself as Purusha, and delinking yourself from the Prakriti. That is jnana.
Okay.
Realizing that you are the non-doer.
No. Going up to that, I am the non-doer is superlative. What I am talking now about
Is there an echo that everyone can hear?
Little,
no
yes.
echo will come because we are very close, Brahma. You close your door or you reduce your volume.
But that was a good effect, you know, as if it came from heaven. The sound came from heaven.
From heaven, huh? The divine voice.
Akashavani.
Yeah. This, the rope and snake. The whole life is like rope and snake only. Where is the point where we are realizing the rope as rope? Are we? The
That is
moment
only
we
jnana.
realize, and are we realizing that we are not realizing that we are still looking at the rope as a snake and snake as a rope? Once that realization comes, it is like, knowing very deeply that you don't know anything. It might sound confusing, but this is what is happening even in the dhyana sadhana. What happens is you start from a point of zero, like a circle. You start in a circle. Start at a point called zero, and you go, travel along the circle, thinking that it is going to take you somewhere. But the path is circular. You go, and come back to the point where you started and say, "Oh, this is where I started." But what happens is, when you started at the point zero, you did not know anything. You just wanted to explore something and you started walking. While walking, you came across so many things 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 100,000. And then you started realizing, oh, this is what it is. I knew this at that time also. This is what it is. This is what it is. And while thinking, contemplating, and all that, without even realizing, you come back to the point where you have started. But again, you were standing at zero. You are again standing at zero. But the first zero is something different. You were having that tapana inside. You want to know something. I have to do something. The second zero is that you have seen it and you have understood it, and you have understood, accepted that it is nothing. So the first point of zero, when you are standing at zero, you are having that anxiety. So there you are in search of jnana. You are in search of knowing something. You went round, you knew everything. And then first you said, I know nothing, I have to learn. Second, you go round and come back to the point zero and say, wow, this is what it is. There is actually nothing. I learned that there is nothing. So when you come back at the point second time, you are so cool in your mind. You do not have that anxiety because now you know that it is nothing. The nothing is the same, but your perception about the nothing has changed. That is what is jnana. And when the second time you know it is nothing, you are cool, you feel liberated. There is nothing that is holding on to you. I need to do this, I need to learn. You will still do, but with that kind of understanding that, yaar, ye to nothing hai, but you will do. That is Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta. You are alive, you are doing everything, but you are Mukta. You are not bound by what is the binding? It is your thought, right? It is the thought that binds you. So at the thought level, you are not bound. There itself, you are liberated. Then you will really do things like just a song. This is what I think we have to get as an abhyasa in our daily attitude. Then that is real moksha, not somewhere else sitting outside on the ninth cloud. Here and now. That is what probably Gurudev says, you are free here and now. That here and now, we have to understand it in this way. That is what I think. Maybe we can, others can share whether I sound sensible or I sound like a nonsense. Hari Om.
No. Completely sensible.
Completely, yes, and very well put. In fact, that delusion, that rope and the snake, even in Ashtavakra Gita, Gurudev states that your perceptions could be very wrong. What is right, what is wrong? A saint can become a culprit can become a saint. And he says that is why when you go to a temple, the idols are adorned with a lot of golden jewelry. Then that your eyes are fixed on that, attracted to that. So how the withdrawal of the senses take place, then the flowers, the fragrance of the flowers, then the music that is played right from the outer sanctum to the inner sanctum. Different types of instruments are played. So your ears, so everything, every sense of yours when you enter the temple is taken care of. And then you go and stand with your eyes closed. And it's like your perceptions can be so wrong. Your eyes, when you see a ball pen put in water, it may look crooked. So there is no right, there is no wrong. All this is just delusion. Realizing that there is no right, no wrong. A saint can be a culprit and a culprit can be a saint. All things change with time. Just drop everything. And then at the same time, he says there is nothing to drop. What is yours that you need to drop it?
Exactly. Here, with this kind of a realization, even if you are a samsari, you have to do something for your wife or you have to do something for your husband, do it, but without doership. And we do something in the office, we do everything to the best of our ability and performance. But with that cool state of mind that not saying I'm not the doer, that in the corporate world it will not be accepted, but inside you tell yourself that yes, I'm not the doer, it is the divine that is giving me the strength to do it, so I'm doing it. So I'm a devotee first and I'm a CEO, I'm a devotee first, I'm a wife, I'm a devotee first, I'm a husband. When we are in that plane, your platform remains the same. That is like your springboard. From that springboard you can go to any height, come back to the springboard for resting, and the same springboard is as effective as every time, and it catapults you to greater heights every time you come back to that, because that platform itself is in a very higher state of a plateau. It does not let you go down below that. This is what I feel. Always I have this kind of thought in my mind. When we keep our mind in that kind of a platform, whatever you appear to be outside, inside you are what you are. Again, here I'll close with one small example. We all know how the gas stove works, right? Not the hot plate, the gas stove. That also gives me some kind of a thought process. From a small nozzle, the gas comes out, right? If we know the mechanism of it. And on that, there is a burner with multiple holes. Yes or no? We all know that. But the gas that comes from the nozzle gets distributed evenly from all the holes of the burner. And when the matchstick is lit, the flame comes from all the holes of the burner. But if we notice that there is a small gap between that nozzle and the burner where the gas keeps getting pumped, that small gap is never on fire. If you understood what I mean. So what happens is that one source of energy or one source of proper thought, that the cool mind that we keep inside comes out, makes us do multiple acts. We are a wife, we are a husband, we are an employee, we are a homemaker, we are everything. But that source is never on fire. While doing everything, we get tired, we get hot like the burner. But the source always is cool, but yet it continues to provide the supply of energy. We should be like, we should realize that I am that source doing all this. I will do all this, then I will cool down, but that source remains the source without any tiresomeness or without any end of my supply of my power or energy or willingness, whatever it is. That thought, we can learn from all these small things also if we really want to learn. That is what I always see. And I think this is what I thought I should share this. Hariom.
Very beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So Purusha is like the gas and Prakriti is the flame. So the Karya Karana Sanghata that Krishna is talking about, Swamiji is talking about here, Prakriter Guna Sammudaha, the body, mind, sense complex is the flame that is doing multiple activities, it's doing, it's burning, it's doing its dancing around with all its color. Whereas the source of the flame, that is the Purusha. The stable person is the Purusha. Very beautiful example, Prem.
Nice, wonderful, Prem. Our wonderfully put.
That one, yeah, that nozzle or that gap is the seventh layer of our existence. If we are talking about the
soul,
what we are taught in the happiness, that seventh layer.
Yeah, nice. So I think very inspiring, very beautiful. Day-to-day examples, no? Like how in Atma Bodh, Shankara used all mundane, whatever we see every day, he's put a lot of Atma Jnana in that. It is nice. When you keep your eyes open, you can see Advaita and everything. You can see
I feel we are doing very good as a group, Manana. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Liked it. Wonderful.
One other thing I wanted to, but it's lack of time, we will stop now, is about the knots. I think tomorrow we will go through the knots one more time. How we start off saying, I am so and so, and then all the notions that we build up. Like for instance, a baby when it's born does not have any notion. It is only added, it starts adding up. And how these knots get knotted and knotted. So one big knot with multiple little knots inside. And how the whole process of sadhana is about unknotting it, removing the knot. That is jnana, that is moksha. The knot.
And those knots are guna.
Are guna, prakriti. They're all born of.
And in that knot only we are suffering.
Yeah, they're all knotted up so much.
To unknot it. Wonderful. Right. Especially the silk knots, no? I am a weaver, I know it.
Right. So let's stop here today. We've superseded our time. The intention was to finish at 6:30. I think we start, all of us should respect time. And of course, we're having wonderful discussion. So maybe what we'll do, if we require a little more time for discussion, maybe we'll read for 1 hour and half an hour we'll keep for discussion, if that works out well for everyone. Because then we will be able to finish according to time. We're starting on time, but let's also finish on time. That is like
discussion is very important, because that only opens up so many things within our.
Correct. So I think we'll leave tomorrow. We'll do this. We'll leave half an hour for discussion, and so then we will be able to. All of us will be able to share it. Yeah.
Now the unknotting time takes time, and we don't know how much it is. You know? And we start unknotting. We should complete it.
I have no problems at all. I have no problems with the time extending. But then, since we have decided what is to be done is to be done, it's good to follow that. That's all. That's the only concern.
Yeah, I think
that's a very good
if
proposal.
Necessary, 5 to 5:50, 50 minutes of the chanting or reading. Next 40 minutes up to 6:30 can be discussion. Also, it should be okay.
And even today, let us have this as our homework. That example of a gas flame, and that go with it throughout the day, and let that get established in us. That will help us a lot for that Advaita Jnana. It's very important. Like whole day, let that be in your Chintan, that example. It will help tremendously. Jai Gurudev.
Yeah. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.